Afternoon and welcome to Masterpiece Theatre.
New culture today.
Yes, I'm your host. I'm your host for Atheist Theatre. This is the Atheist Experience. Hello, I'm Martin. That's David. Welcome back to another fun episode. The show is sponsored by Atheist Community of Austin, a non-profit educational organization promoting positive atheism and the separation of church and state. We are live April 28th. Uh-oh, there goes our flag. Ah, well, there we go. Well, you can take. It's just a, hang on, we have a flag crisis.
Well, we can look at it.
All right. Anyway, we're live. April 28th, 2002. The ACA is, as we said, a nonprofit educational organization. We hold weekly meetings every Sunday morning at 10:30 a.m. at the Hot Jumbo Bagel Shop, 307 West 5th Street, between Guadalupe and Lavaca, except for the first Sunday of every month when we have our lecture series in the Longhorn Room of Furr's Cafeteria in North Cross Mall. So our next meeting in North Cross Mall at Furr's will take place next Sunday. However, in May, we are not having a lecture. We're going to have like board member elections and do a bunch of group business-oriented stuff. So that's what's going to happen then. Also, Godless Gamers is an offshoot, a little social group, meets Monday nights at the home of Jeff D. and Manda. For more information on Godless Gamers, talk to either Jeff or Manda, or you can join the Atheist Gamers mailing list via the ACA website. ACA Happy Hour takes place every Thursday evening at Antonio's Tex-Mex near the intersection of I-35 and Highway 183. Starts kind of 7:30ish, 8ish. Just people trickle in all through the evening. So, if you turn up for that and you don't really see anybody there, obviously stick around because people will turn up. Also, The Nonprofits is our internet radio show, which plays every Saturday afternoon at 2 o'clock p.m. at the atheistnetwork.com website. And if you have trouble accessing the atheistnetwork.com website, you can go to our very own website at atheist-community.org, click on the radio show page, and there should be links to get you to the live feed as well as to the interactive chat room that goes on during the radio show. Did you guys actually do the radio show in the nude yesterday? Did they? There's no one's here. They did this whole thing where they were like, "Yes, we're naked." They're not telling. It's the big mystery.
Up to your imagination.
Why? Because, okay, I mean...
I don't know how that would get... that would get more viewers if we did that on the show.
No, I think we, well, depending. I mean, I was particularly eager to see us naked. I never really had. Yeah, I'm not passing judgment. I'm just curious. If you guys want to do that. I mean, does Russell not have air conditioning in his new place? Or what's the... All right, well, whatever. Well, it's a fun show, really good. It's hosted by Jeff D. and co-hosted by Vic Farrow, Mary McManamy, every Saturday afternoons at 2 on the web. Your web browser will need the Real Player plugin to hear the audio stream. Okay, we have an event coming up. There is this thing that has been put together. Called the National Day of Prayer.
That's right, National Day of Prayer.
Coming Thursday, I believe, May the 2nd. Now, I was led to understand that in this country, under the U.S. Constitution, people have freedom of religion, freedom to worship, and we don't have to have some sort of officially mandated day during which it's permissible for everyone to pray. But that seems to be, maybe what, some folks have thought that either it's that or this is, in fact, a national day of religious showboating. But what have you, it's coming up, it's Thursday, and the ACA members will be protesting various events. There's a breakfast, and then I think there's a thing on the Capitol steps, right?
Well, no, there was supposed to be an event at noon near the Capitol, and it apparently, according to the website, has been canceled.
Okay, but no explanation given?
And they said that they were supposed to have all the government members. The governor was supposed to attend and so on, but apparently it said that they're going to be out of the city on that day or that time, so they're not going to have it.
I see.
Now, the other thing, they're going to have the National Day of Prayer breakfast in the morning, which is what we're going to protest. And now I found this interesting. Apparently from 6 a.m. to 6 p.m. on May 2nd, they are going to have a Bible reading and prayer marathon on all four sides of the Capitol grounds. They're going to have teams of prayer warriors, I guess, walking around the Capitol, reading Bibles
warriors.
and praying on all four sides to make sure it's covered on all four sides, because apparently a prayer will only cover in a particular direction.
Right.
So you have to go ahead and get the other directions covered by other people praying in that way.
Yeah.
So
just make sure you have like your whole triangulated cross.
yeah, they want to do the 360 thing, and apparently a prayer maybe is only a particular, maybe 45-degree angle. I'm not sure.
Yeah, I see.
So they're going to cover the whole Capitol from 6 a.m. to
God
6
is like
p.m.
deaf in one ear.
That's right,
so
right.
You got to make sure depending
So
on which.
6 a.m. to 6 p.m. they're going to have prayer warriors out there praying around the Capitol.
Well, you know, the way
Fascinating.
to, you know, now of course that's a freedom of speech.
Sure, sure.
And I think that the way to counter protest to that would be walk around reading Bertrand Russell.
Right.
Yeah.
Carrying maybe a sign with a, you know, whatever you would put on there, and just
or wearing
go
one
ahead.
of these lovely T-shirts designed by our group's very own Amanda.
Oh, yes.
Yeah. So yeah, that would be the thing to do. Walk around, you know, reading David Hume, reading
From
any
6
of
a.m. to 6 p.m.
the, yeah, sort of.
Kind of a
there,
warriors of reason.
That's
sending
that
out
must be
reason
it.
in 360 degrees.
Yeah.
That's right.
So, otherwise, right? Well, whatever. Okay. But again, this is a thing. This is a thing that, and the reason our group is protesting it is there it is. Is that you know, it's not so much we're not protesting people's right to pray. What we're protesting is this particular event is constitutes, in our opinion,
Right,
government endorsement.
Right. This National Day of Prayer was mandated by Congress. So this is, you're getting government saying.
So this is crossing that constitutional
You should
line.
pray, and now the official National Day of Prayer task force is now this is supposed to be for all faiths. But it is headed by Shirley Dobson, the wife of evangelical James Dobson.
Sure.
And on the website it says anyone is free to attend any meetings that we may have or prayer meetings that we may have. However, it will be evangelical and Christian in nature. And this is the official national.
Yeah, so there's not even really a pretense.
No, and the website's filled with crosses and links to Jesus sites, and it's just total Jesus start to finish.
It's all Christianity. There's not even a
so this is ultimately a government endorsement of Christianity.
Yeah,
not
just prayer.
Not just of Christianity.
Specifically,
and I have no problem if people all across the United States wanted to get through email or radio ads or television ads and say, hey, we want to make a particular day a day when people of all faiths pray. No problem with that.
No, I think
of individuals doing that. If I were to email you and we got a movement started, individuals, but like not a congressional mandate,
like private groups,
right? But that's not what this is.
Yeah,
that's the whole reason we're not protesting a person's right to pray.
Yeah.
It's the government involvement that is causing the problem.
And very specifically, it is clearly a thing that, as you said, you know, sort of gives lip service to, anyone can come.
Right.
Just keep in mind that we're all going to be doing Christian stuff.
Right. And Governor Perry has issued a proclamation for the National Day of Prayer, and it's just dripping with Jesus.
Yeah.
It's just sticky. You couldn't touch it.
No.
So, yeah.
All right. Well, so that's happening this week and ought to be interesting. So I'll break out some of my, George Smith and Russell and Bertrand Russell and all of that.
Do some walks around the Capitol.
Yeah, just prepare. Yeah, just read some of those essays. I like walk within some feet of whoever.
Oh, yeah.
Just walk like right next to somebody, reading reading from the scriptures or reading a prayer.
Some Thomas Paine, maybe.
Some Thomas Paine.
Age of Reason. That's excellent.
Or reading some of these founding father quotes, which we have, or so. Anyway, so that's coming up. And I guess that's about it in terms of, send a shout out to Casey, his buddy Brett, a couple guys I met over the weekend who are viewers and fans of the show, just, had very nice, encouraging words. It's always nice to hear just good response from the people out there. There are a lot of sort of the silent atheist groups out there.
Yeah, I got an email from a guy this week. He was saying he really likes the show. It's really educational and really enjoys it. So that was really nice. And today we have a studio audience.
We do.
We have a visitor today. Can you see back there in the cheap seats?
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
Yes, I think he can.
Yes,
studio
I
audience can see us just fine.
We're glad to have a studio audience.
We are. Before I have a little bit of old business to get into, but we're gonna do news first.
Okay.
And just take it from
Well,
there.
we got some good news stuff today. Let's
Good.
see. Something coming out of Anchorage, Alaska. A student who was suspended from Juneau High School after displaying a banner that urged bong hits for Jesus sued the principal and local school board, saying they had violated his right to free speech. The Alaska Civil Liberties Union said it filed the lawsuit in U.S. District Court on behalf of the Juneau Douglas High School senior who held up the banner, Bong Hits for Jesus, during Juneau's Olympic torch relay last summer.
Okay.
As punishment, he was suspended from school for 10 days after the principal invoked the school's anti-drug policy. Now,
the anti-drug policy has to do with not doing drugs.
well,
right?
the banner display occurred off school property on
Right.
a public sidewalk where students and other, Juneau residents were gathered to watch the torch relay.
Okay.
According to the lawsuit, this is even better. According to the lawsuit, the student was originally only, first of all, the principal walked up. This is on off-school property, walked up and grabbed the banner out of his hands. And then he was suspended for 5 days until he had a meeting with the principal and he quoted one of Thomas Jefferson's statements about free speech, and she went ahead and gave him a 10-day suspension.
So yeah, just making it abundantly clear that her utter contempt for
for civil liberties
his
is
constitutional rights was
right.
Yeah.
This has nothing to do with the schools. I mean, public property.
Wait a minute. So it was public property and it wasn't during school hours?
No, it was during school hours, but the schools had been closed, so everybody could be out.
So he was on his own time.
Yeah, he was on his own time.
So she walked up and grabbed the poster out of his hands. So why isn't he charging her with assault?
I don't know. That's what I was
Yeah.
wondering. I would be doing that too.
Yeah. So that's crazy. Okay. So ACLU is on it, and what do we have? It's just happening. It's just been filed.
It's just happening. It's just recent, and so.
But even if it was during school hours, look, the anti-drug policy, which is a bogus thing that she's referring to, right? That's about hey, students don't do drugs, not students don't make jokes about drugs.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. This is just it's crazy.
Yeah.
It's obviously
Could it be religious?
Yeah, they're going to lose that one for sure. So.
Well, we'll see. I mean, just depending on if they get a nice unconstitutional, judge like Roy Moore or whatever up there.
Yeah. I don't have the news story, but did you read about him?
What's the latest outrage?
No. Well, the latest outrage is that in the Constitution, U.S. citizens are given the right to trial by jury and the right to a speedy trial.
But
Judge Moore has suspended the right to trial by jury in civil trials in the state of Alabama, and has postponed a whole bunch of trials. So there are people sitting in jails that are not going to get a speedy trial. They're already filing their lawsuits.
yeah, because
And
he's denying them due process. Why?
He's denying them, because they don't have enough money. So no more. You don't get a trial by jury. We don't have the money.
Gee, if I was a cynical type of guy, that could, I could make a comment about, is justice, really a principle in our legal system, or is it just a thing that's for sale?
Apparently, it is. It is for sale.
Yeah.
But apparently, Judge Moore had enough money to print up a booklet on how religion played a part in America's founding and distribute that to a whole bunch of people. He did that a while back, but that was used with state funds. It was done with state funds.
No.
But we don't have the money for people to get a trial.
Well, not after he, used the money to,
Right.
break the law.
Yeah.
Huh. Wow.
Excellent. No, well, let's talk about Pat Robertson.
Oh, let's.
Christian Coalition founder Pat Robertson says he sees no contradiction between his condemnation of gambling and his ownership of a racehorse named Mr. Pat. I don't bet and I don't gamble, Robertson said. I just enjoy watching horses running and performing. I wish horse racing was not supported by gambling, he said. The people I see at the track, they don't seem to love horses. They're looking at the racing form and are trying to make money betting. I like to look at them as performers and to study their bloodlines. Some religious experts say Robertson is violating the spirit of his conservative Christian message. University of Chicago theologian Martin Marty said the whole culture of horse racing involves gambling. All the money comes from people trying to hit it big gambling. This is like saying you're investing in a bordello but aren't in favor of prostitution. Nah, some more hypocrisy by Mr. Pat.
Oh, my goodness. That's,
okay. Well, let's go with, let's talk more about Tom DeLay. Remember we talked about Tom DeLay and the speech he gave at a church where he said,
yes.
don't go to Baylor, don't send your children to
Yes.
Baylor, don't send your children to A&M because they're not good Christian schools.
Right.
Well, apparently in that same speech at the First Baptist Church of Pearland, Texas on April 12th, DeLay said that only Christianity offers a reasonable answer to basic questions about the purpose of life. Ladies and gentlemen,
Well, sure it does, right? I mean, you know, you could come up with any sort of little answer, a wacky answer that you make up, and it'll, you know, provide you with the answer that you're looking for, if
he
that's
said
the
it's-
answer you're
it's
looking for.
only Christianity. He said, ladies and gentlemen, Christianity offers the only viable, reasonable, definitive answer to the questions of where did I come from, why am I here, where am I going, and does life have any meaningful purpose? Only Christianity offers a way to understand that physical and moral border. Only Christianity offers a comprehensive worldview that covers all areas of life and thought, every aspect of creation. Only Christianity offers a way to live in response to the realities that we find in this world. Only Christianity.
Well, yeah, sure
That's a quote
it does.
from DeLay.
Yeah, if you're the kind of person who likes very simple 3-word answers to every single question about life, the universe, and everything that you could possibly come up with.
But I'm curious.
Then yeah, I mean,
how viable is this answer? Let's see. Where did I come from? Let's see. A big invisible God made the world and made me. Why am I here? He made me to worship Him. Mm-hmm. Where am I going? To heaven or hell? Does life have any meaningful purpose? Well, the purpose would be to worship the God that created me. So those are viable answers.
See how
reasonable answers.
See how it all fits?
It's excellent.
How could we ever have doubted that?
Now I don't have to wonder about these things.
That's right, yeah.
Now,
Oh, but wait. What about all this, like, evil stuff that goes on in the world if God is all loving and all powerful and stuff? But, you know, how could He sit back and let those, does not compute.
danger, Will Robinson.
Steam coming out of, yeah. Yeah, that's right. It's there to answer all these, you know, really sticky, nasty questions that you might have if you're not willing to, like, think about the answers too much.
Well, DeLay also, in the same speech, he had talked bad about A&M and Baylor. But apparently, he was kicked out of Baylor in 1967
Well, there you
because
go.
of drinking and carousing as a student.
So he's a St. Augustine for our times. Yeah.
Yes. Now, DeLay said Christians sometimes are criticized if they express their faith openly in public life. He said believers are told, you can go in the church and stay in it, but if you stick your head out and you say anything that reflects your worldview, we're going to knock your head off. And they do.
Well,
they come after me like you wouldn't believe. I'm the most investigated man in America, especially when we impeached Bill Clinton. It was incredible. If I wasn't walking with the Lord, I would have been destroyed. This is the paranoia that comes with an apocalyptic belief system right there, personified.
You know, this is crazy, right? Because I was listening to, you know, some news program the other night. And, you know, heard somebody make the outrageous remark that what religion does for people that's good is it teaches you humility. Okay? Now, how do you get humility from a worldview, from a belief system that says, hey, everybody, guess what? There's this big magic guy who's all powerful, and he created the whole frickin' universe, and he's also your best friend. You know, how do you get humility out of that? I don't see that you get humility out of that. What you get is a guy like Tom DeLay, right, who trumpets his moral and, you know, superiority over the rest of the human race, you know, and it's just insane.
Well, you're supposed to get the humility part out of the fact that because we're sinners, we're like horrible scum that don't deserve to live.
Unless you're Tom DeLay.
But God then went ahead and said, well, you know, I'll forgive you once you go ahead and horribly crucify and torture my son.
Yeah.
And that'll make me happy. And then now all of a sudden we're on the right side.
But even then...
and then you get...
If you don't, you know, you don't love me back. Well, you know...
Yeah.
Get ready for some of that wrath stuff. Pretty grim. But, the reason DeLay is criticized, okay, is because he is this very important political figure. And it's not that he expresses his religious faith within the confines of his private life, which would be fine, okay? It's that he conflates the two, his religious life with his public life, okay, and makes these wildly unconstitutional positions, you know, basically based upon his position as a very powerful person in the Republican Party. You know, and you know he's one of these theocrats. He's an overt theocrat. That's why he's criticized. That, and of course, you know, when he just says funny, dumb stuff. You know, we criticize him for that. But that's why, he is roundly attacked so much. But it's great. I love it. I absolutely love it when guys like DeLay come out and just like totally speak their mind like that. Because I think even among mainstream Christians, even among normal, nice, everyday, work a day, get up, do my job, type folks, I think nothing really creeps them out more than a fanatic, a real fanatic. Anybody who is just sort of a mainstream, generally nice, regular, everyday member of the faith is going to get creeped out by a real Section 8 nutbar who takes it to the ultimate extreme and expresses total fanaticism. It's great. I mean, DeLay, after making that little speech in Pearland, got just all sorts of ridicule from, newspaper editorials, around the state, even in Dallas, which is not exactly that's a pretty conservative, Bible Belt stronghold, and they, just kind of wagged their finger at him. So I think it's great. I love it when these guys just come out and speak their mind, because it's like, open mouth, insert foot. So keep it up, Tom. Yeah.
Okay, let's talk about the Catholic Church. Is Azusa. Is that in Arizona or is that in Los Angeles?
Don't know.
Or is that in California? Carrying picket signs that read, "House of Rape" and "Stop Crucifying the Children," a group of protesters marched outside a Roman Catholic church in Azusa on Sunday, prompting an emotional response from parishioners who yelled obscenities and blocked outsiders from entering the church. "Go home," shouted one parishioner of St. Francis of Rome Church. "This is a place of worship. You have no place here." Other parishioners yelled out obscenities and insults. One man who stood outside the church to keep out activists and the media told protest organizer Mary Grant, who said she was molested by a priest as a child, "I bet you enjoyed it, didn't you?"
Whoa! Oh, what a guy.
A female parishioner charged a man holding a picket sign and hit him in the chest. She was then arrested for allegedly assaulting
what parishioners
a female assaulted someone holding a sign.
Walked up and hit him.
Walked up and hit him. Another parishioner walked up and grabbed one of the person's signs out of their hand and I think ripped it up, and they were arrested also, I believe, for assault. One of the leaders of the Southern California chapter of SNAP, Survivors Network of Those Abused by Priests, said, "Sadly, this has been the posture of the church, to treat us as the enemy. If they blame the victim, then they don't have to take responsibility." Apparently, they were out there for hours. As churchgoers begin to arrive, SNAP officials tried to hand out flyers that they had printed out. Angry parishioners tore them up and tossed the shredded paper at the protesters. "You don't know our church," one woman said, tears in her eyes. "I don't believe any of this stuff. Just get out of here." Some of the parishioners began shouting in Spanish to one SNAP member, prompting her to throw down her picket sign and run away in tears. She said, "They kept calling me a stupid idiot and a liar." The lady said she had been abused by a priest 20 years ago and that the father of her 19-year-old daughter is a priest.
Wow.
So, there's interesting stuff going on. Wow. This thing is heating up.
That is what has been really, really, really disturbing about this whole thing. It's not just that there's this... You would think that... And I really was hoping that just the rank and file of the Catholic Church here in America would, be properly outraged by these scandals that have been going on now for... I mean, it's been in the public eye for now several months, but, this is something that dates back decades with the church. But they're not, right? Okay. There are in a lot of them seem to be in full denial. And, they think this is some sort of evil plan to, discredit and destroy their church. And, I can understand how upsetting it would be for somebody to realize that something that they have developed as the cornerstone of their entire mental and emotional well-being, is suddenly ripped, the rug is just pulled right out from under your foot. I can understand how that would be a very upsetting, disorienting thing, okay? But, it's just to respond in the way, just with obscenity and insults and, outright assault in several cases is really sad. It's a real shame that, these people just don't even want to clean their own house or even acknowledge that our house needs cleaning. It's a real shame.
Yeah. Yeah, and it's really really coming to a head.
Now, some Catholics are, acknowledging it, but, you get these cases like this. Or maybe, I don't know, maybe these people, maybe this is a church where they haven't had any problems, and they felt like they were being unfairly targeted, but still, the reaction was just, very undignified.
Well, there actually was a problem at that particular church.
Oh, there was?
One of the main priests at that church had been accused.
Oh, so he's... okay. And do we know that the accusations were true?
They didn't say anything about it. They just said that the priest is on on retreat, according to church officials. They have sent him away and removed him from the church, I guess, until this is
ascertained.
Is ascertained as to whether it's true or not. So
now again, I can understand, if their priest has been, again, this cornerstone of their church and a guy whom they've all, it would be very difficult to come to terms with the fact that someone well has done that stuff. And again, I don't think it's been proved that he has done that stuff. He's apparently been accused. And there is we have to look at all of these accusations of child abuse very carefully to make sure that there aren't false accusations being made, because that does happen, especially in big, media frenzy, circus atmosphere like this. What's happening to our speakers? Oh, wow. Yeah. So we have to make sure that, that's the case. But again, still, the dignified and, I would think that, Christians like to, talk about how virtuous they are and how loving they are. The thing is ignore these protesters, let them go about their thing, but, don't just walk up and assault people and taunt them, and, that's just really... Sure, I'm sorry. I'm just trying to, process all of that, because it's just really...
It's pretty... Well, the whole thing is disturbing, And,
it's just sad. It's just sad, and it keeps getting sadder.
Yes. Well, let's talk about Miss Cleo, speaking of sad.
Now we go from sad to just ridiculous.
Yes, Miss Cleo's lawyer went on the offensive after 2 months of near silence, asserting his client has a gift of clairvoyance, and suggesting she's the subject of a latter-day witch hunt. It does not take a crystal ball to see that the allegations against Miss Cleo may be politically motivated, attorney William Cohn Jr. said in a statement. Is this Florida politics or a bad remake of the Salem witch trials?
Politically motivated. Okay.
9 states, including Florida, as well as the Federal Trade Commission, have brought complaints against Miss Cleo's employer, Access Resource Services of Fort Lauderdale. Mm-hmm. Only Florida has named Miss Cleo individually.
Okay.
Cohn declined to directly answer personal questions about Harris, which is her name, who was not present. Instead, he offered hypothetical answers and left the life of the mysterious mystic a mystery. Who is she? She's for real, Cohn said. Is she a psychic? Is she a shaman? Can she really see the future? Yes, on all counts, said her attorney. To prove that, however, would be a legal impossibility.
So why is he even bringing it up? Any lawyer should know that you don't make assertions in a court of law.
I do believe, though, that she could easily clear her name if she went ahead and talked to James Randi and did the $1 million challenge.
Yeah.
That he has offered for quite a long time.
I just wanted to explain then to me, if she it really does have this precognitive power, why she didn't see all these legal problems coming up in her future. God, this is just crazy. Setting aside, what a crazy world it would be if this kind of magic stuff really were true, okay? The fact of the matter is, if Miss Cleo were real, okay, Jeff Dean made an excellent point yesterday on the radio show, which is that, one person, even one person, possessing magical powers in a world where most people don't possess magical powers would rule the world.
Oh, yeah.
Okay? It's really, you wouldn't have to eke out your living being this late-night cable TV phone psychic person, okay?
It's her passion. She wants to do that.
Well, it's very simple. All you need to do, you play the stock market for about 6 months, okay? Make 50 times more money than Bill Gates, okay? Buy yourself several countries, okay? And, rule the world. You would do that. You would do that inside of 6 months if you were the one person in the world who possessed any sort of psychic or magical ability in a world where most people didn't. So it's just hilarious. But I just love the guy. Well, I'm going to assert something now legally as her lawyer, but I can't prove it. So I can just see the judge going, "Get out of here."
Well, what was funny was they had a psychic on one of the radio stations here in Austin. You know, they do that occasionally when people call in and say, you know, I'm pathetic, can you help me? And so I emailed the DJ and said, what's up? This is lame. What she's doing is called cold reading and all.
Oh, you got on the air with that?
No.
Oh.
I said, anybody can do this. It's called cold reading, and it's been around for decades, and magicians do it all the time.
Yes,
she's a fraud. She's taking gullible people's money. And he emailed me back and said, yeah, I know, it's a bunch of crap.
But we put her on the show anyway.
Put her on the show because of
its ratings.
Yeah.
You know, that's you know, kind of that's what bums me out about the whole thing is I think that the media just realizes how much the sheep eat that stuff up. And rather than just make people smart and educate them and just say, look, folks, let's get real, you know, no, they'd rather just pander to stupidity, you know, and sort of help to promulgate the stupidity. It's very, you know, I used to be, now I worked at the Daily Texan when I was in college, but I took journalism courses in high school. I didn't take any in college, but I worked at the paper, did cartooning there. You know, used to be, there was this principle in journalism called ethics, you know, in media. You know, like you have this responsibility to your audience to, you know, like be straight with them. But I think that's all evaporated now. It's just all about ratings and Nielsen's and getting that advertising dollar in. And if you just report the kookiest crap as news, who cares as long as people watch? You know, that's the guiding principle now.
You know, I mean, you get the TV show, you know, I mean, Springer, that's some ethics right there.
But yeah, but that's an entertainment show. I don't call
But that's full of ethics. I mean, that's just...
Well, I guess. Yeah, that's sort of, you know, but that's an entertainment show. I mean, I cut Springer slack. I mean, I don't watch that drivel, but, you know, I mean, that's not, you know, he's not pretending to, you know, be some news guy. So.
I always get a kick out of turning on, like, the morning news shows, like the Today Show and things like that. I always get a kick out of that because it's obvious that, you know, it's just the talking head there, and we're going to do a little bit of a news piece, and then we're going to talk about, you know, how to make some cookies. But they think that they're real journalists and they're real news people. You know, but they're the highest paid too, as opposed to the real news people.
Yeah, just the pretty faces who, you know, just do
the entertainment is the highest paid. So
yeah. Yeah.
Well, let's go with some science news.
Oh, let's. Yeah.
A 5-inch long creature that looked more like a mouse than a man may be the earliest known member of the mammal group that includes humans, according to U.S. and Chinese scientists who have studied fossilized remains of the animal.
Oh.
The fossil, resembling a contemporary tree shrew,
There we
say
go.
that 10 times fast, is believed to be 125 million years old. It was unearthed in China in 2000. Experts believe this early mammal, which weighed less than a pound, had long claws, lived in bushes, and ate insects, much like modern squirrel-like shrews. However, unlike its modern counterparts, the ancient animal had the additional task of dodging carnivorous dinosaurs.
No. Yeah, that would keep it busy.
Scientists say this is the earliest known placental mammal, the type dominant today.
Okay.
The fossil find is important because scientists who study human evolution are interested in learning how such early ancestors developed and eventually turned into other species.
Neat. So it's one of the first species that would like bore its young in a womb? That would be placental?
Yes.
Okay, right.
Yes.
Yeah.
The fossil was unearthed in the Lining province in northeastern China, which is considered a gold mine for paleontologists. Feathered dinosaurs, very primitive birds, and some of the world's most important early mammals have all been found there. This fossil is in such good condition that a microscopic look at it actually reveals mammal hair, which is an especially critical find in establishing the first branch of the placental evolutionary tree.
Ooh.
So it's pretty interesting.
Yeah, that's neat.
Pretty interesting.
Oh, science marches on.
And that's pretty much what I have for news today.
Well, that's what's going on. Okay, cool.
But I don't know that our phone lines work.
Yeah, we got a message from the control room saying that the phone box was messed up somehow.
Is that still the case?
So we're okay. It's
we don't have
not
callers.
supposedly working. So that number to phone us live is 477-2288. If you want to call us up and talk about some stuff, and while we're letting those calls rack up,
Why don't you? If we go ahead and we didn't give much detail. Should we go ahead and give detail about that? and
About
the
the-
website
the-
and so
about
on,
the Day
and
of Prayer?
the Day of Prayer protest.
Yeah, I'll let you do that while I get my old business stuff together. So
Okay.
if you know that information.
Okay, yeah. What is happening is that the National Day of Prayer is having a prayer breakfast at the. And I can go ahead and mention the place, right? We're just putting out information.
Yeah. I mean, we're not we're telling people how to attend and
No, right.
what the admission fee is and all that.
Right,
so,
right. The National Day of Prayer prayer breakfast is going to be held at the DoubleTree Hotel on I-35 in Austin.
And the actual breakfast itself is not just open to Joe Blow. I mean, that's
Right.
the thing. So,
You have to make reservations and so
Yeah.
on to get in there. And supposedly the breakfast starts sharp at 6:45 a.m. And now, of course, we're going to be protesting. I know that I'm going to be arriving around 6 a.m. probably to get set up.
Wow.
But
too early for me, but
the website for the actual National Day of Prayer Texas group. This is not one of our websites. It's the official Christian website for the National Day of Prayer for Texas is ndptexas.com. And that gives more information about the actual National Day of Prayer.
Yeah. So apparently you can go to their own website, and this is like
This
it's
is
a
the
national thing,
Texas-
but every state, I guess,
Every state kind of has its own right. There's a national the National Day of Prayer Task Force. The whole national group website is the nationaldayofprayer.org.
Okay.
But then Texas has its own, the state of Texas, ndptexas.com, and you can find out information specifically about this prayer breakfast.
So you can go, presumably, to this website and see for yourself, just reading their own writing,
Yes.
presumably that
How Christian it is.
It's all pretty much Christian.
Yes.
And it will be interesting to go there and hit whatever email links they provide. Okay, and ask them, please, tell me all the faiths that will be represented at the prayer breakfast. Will there be a Jewish rabbi?
No. Well,
Will
they
there be,
have the speakers listed, and they don't say anything about actual who's giving particular prayers. They have the speakers listed, and the speakers are all Christian.
They're all Christian.
Yes,
there's
from
not
what
a-
I've said,
there's
what
not a
I've seen on there.
There's not a rabbi in the bunch. There's not a mullah.
None of that was mentioned on the website.
Of course, there wouldn't be a mullah in this state. It would be majorly.
None of that is mentioned on the website. So
There's not some wicked.
we may have a caller.
Well, okay, we're gonna let them rack up. Okay.
All right.
All right. Well,
Excellent.
so that's going on. So ndptexas.com.
Yes.
And find out exactly, sort of what this is all about and how disingenuous they are in terms of, and what chaps my hide about the whole thing, again, is the exploitive nature of the way they're advertising it. Have you seen the billboards?
Oh yeah. Yeah. Billboards, the ads in the newspapers, full page ads, everything.
And what's on the billboard?
I'm trying to remember.
Okay.
Go ahead. And
It's a firefighter.
Firefighter
Firefighter on the billboard.
That's right.
So again, this is more.
And the theme for the National Day of Prayer this year is America United Under God. So that's the theme.
Right.
Looks to be lots of fun, I imagine.
Well, for someone, I don't know.
I was thinking about attending.
Well, you are attending.
No,
Just
I mean,
not
I was thinking of actually attending.
Oh, attending
I think
the
we
thing.
need it's for everybody, so we can have an atheist representative there.
Would you attend and be open about, hi, I'm involved with atheist organizations?
Well, sure I would.
Yeah, see how far in the door they let you get before.
I think I should attend.
Yeah, might be escorted
Be our
out.
voice on the inside.
Yes, well, you might be escorted out, and that would be interesting.
That'd be even better.
Oh, yeah, and it's just sort of all right, just thought I'd come and check, and thanks for
Make sure that you
confirming.
were intolerant.
You just can't get me out of this room fast enough, can you? Okay, we got the callers lining up, so I just want to address a little bit of old business.
Oh yeah, that's right.
And this
So
is
we can
not
get to that.
this is actually not from last week's program. This is from two Sundays ago, when we had a caller who. The subject got onto the actual, historicity of Jesus Christ as a real historical person. And this caller mentioned the historian Flavius Josephus, who was a first-century Jewish historian who is held by some to have written a passage in one of his books, which is this sort of secular, independent confirmation of the existence of Jesus Christ.
Except that, and I don't know what you're going to say, but I've read about it too. That may be the same thing. That it obviously looks like a later insertion.
Yeah, and I brought up to this caller that the passage in Josephus is thought by scholars to be a forgery, but my bad, slap, slap. I didn't actually have this with me in the studio that day, so I could the actual. It's very bad to like reference scholars and then not have the scholarship handy to back yourself up with, because then it just sounds like you're using the old argument appeal to authority thing, and that's bad. So I just want to make sure you explain. And first off, though, I want to preface by saying I don't think that the existence of Jesus Christ as his actual historical character is really all that important an issue. I know it's a very important issue for many people in the Christian community, and for some atheists even. This seems to be an important thing to debate, whether or not Jesus Christ was actually a guy who lived. Okay? I don't think that's really all that important. There may have been a Jesus Christ. I don't really think that's crucial. What's crucial is whether or not any of the supernatural claims of the Gospels and of the Bible as a whole
can be verified.
Are true, are verified. That's what's key. So there may have been a Jesus. There may have been, whatever. The thing is, did he really walk on water? Did he really rise from the dead? Did he really feed, all those people with the one loaf and the fish, right? I mean, all the supernatural claims, curing blind and raising the dead and stuff. That's what we need to have, historical verification of. And of course, we have none. But just really quickly before we go to the callers, I wanted to just read. There are a lot of sources where you can find information about the passage in Josephus. This is from a book called, and admittedly the title doesn't seem terribly unbiased, but it's by a guy named Michael Martin. The book is called The Case Against Christianity, and he makes this case after, studying Christianity. This isn't just some rant or tract. And he's a professor of philosophy at Boston University. And he just makes mention of, there's a passage in a book that Josephus wrote, called Antiquities of the Jews. Book 18, there's a passage known in scholarly literature as the Testimonium Flavianum, where it talks about, at this time there was a Jesus, a wise man, and if indeed one ought to call him a man, for he was one who wrought surprising feats and was a teacher of such people as accept the truth of the Messiah. Goes on for a paragraph, and then goes on from there. And just says really quickly, what are the reasons for supposing that this passage is a later Christian interpolation? Says, first, it appears out of context, thereby breaking the flow of the narrative. Furthermore, earlier Christian writers such as Origen, who were well acquainted with Josephus' writings, seemed to be unaware of this passage. Moreover, the passage is written as if Josephus were a Christian and not a Pharisaic Jew, and therefore it's unlike anything else in the Antiquities. So basically it's this thing that just suddenly pops up out of nowhere and doesn't make sense.
Right, and when he's writing in the book, and he's writing about one thing. Mm-hmm. Here, let me throw in something about Jesus is totally off what I was writing about. Let me continue back again what I was writing about.
Yeah, back to our original topic, right. And it says that there's another passage in Antiquities in which Jesus is mentioned, tells how Ananus, son of Ananus the high priest, and tells so he assembled the judges, brought before him the brother of Jesus who was called Christ, whose name was James, and some others, so refers to him there. And then he says, now that particular other paragraph, scholarly opinion is divided over whether this passage is a Christian interpolation. However, if Jesus did exist, and Michael Martin points out, one would have expected Josephus to have mentioned Jesus more than once in his histories and to have said more about him. And that's a criticism that makes sense because the Gospels make it clear that Jesus was like this real popular, well-known guy who walked around Judea
doing all this totally wild stuff that would have just been on the front page of the newspapers of the day.
Yeah, and he was like very popular and was doing all this philanthropic stuff, and he's like Bono, except with miracles, right? So if this is the case, why isn't Jesus mentioned more? Why is it just like this one paragraph here and one paragraph there? And moreover, Josephus mentions other leaders of messianic proportions, ones with large followings, who might have been considered messiahs by people who were looking for a messiah. Furthermore, in the Antiquities, more space is given to John the Baptist than to Jesus, and indeed, Josephus describes John as one would expect him to have described Jesus. For example, quote, now when many others came in crowds about him, for they were greatly moved or pleased by hearing his words, Herod, who feared lest the great influence John had over the people might put into his power an inclination to raise a rebellion, for they seemed ready to do anything he should advise, thought it best by putting him to death to prevent any mischief he might cause. We talk about John the Baptist there. Given the alleged fact that Jesus was a public figure known throughout the land, it is unexpected that Josephus mentioned him at most once in passing, while mentioning other messianic figures and John the Baptist in greater detail. So that's the reason why there's a cause among biblical scholars to doubt the Josephus passage. But in any case, so just wanted to back up, again.
But in actuality, it's really irrelevant.
I think it is. I think
do
it's
too.
a lot.
I think it is,
Scholars, I mean, I'm not a professional biblical scholar. Clearly, Christian scholars will disagree that it's irrelevant. My personal position, just as an atheist, is, I want to know if the supernatural claims are true. I'm perfectly willing to accept that there was a real man walking around,
charismatic guy with a lot of followers.
yeah, who inspired the stories of the gospel. There may have been several. It would make sense if there were some sort of real inspiration behind the tales. I mean, I think that there's like historical evidence to indicate that there was a real event that inspired the flood myth. Flood myth itself isn't true, but
Right.
we now have very good evidence that
There was a localized flood.
the Black Sea flood, when the
Right.
Bosphorus split, and this is about 7,500 years ago. So yeah, I mean, the myths the way myths develop is that they are popular stories that get passed around through an oral tradition, and it's like playing that game telephone, right? By the time it gets from one end of the line to the other, it's been elaborated on and changed and and modified. But that's how cultures develop their myths. There's nothing unusual about that. But I just want to bring that up because you never want to reference scholars and not have scholarship. Okay, time to take calls, and we're going to start with Tom on line 2. Hello, Tom?
Hello.
Hi, you're on the air.
Hey, you guys.
Hey.
You guys are great. I'm glad to
Thank
see
you.
you. I hardly ever catch your show because it's Sunday and, there's other things to do. But
Oh, sure.
anyway, yeah, relating to that, there's so many shows on Access TV that are just shown over and over.
Mm-hmm.
I was hoping you guys could put your show on more often.
I think in fact, that is the plan. One of our producers has been making digital tapes of our episodes with the idea of putting them in rotation. So we'll have repeats of this show just at various times during the week. And as we collect more and more and more, we'll have more and more and more of them to repeat. So yeah, that has always been something that we've wanted to do, to just be on the air more. And
So it never had to do with booking or anything like that.
I'm sorry?
It doesn't have anything to do with booking or anything like. There are shows that just seem to be on all the time.
Right, yeah. I don't know. One of our producers would have to give you the answer on that, how it is that they schedule stuff. As I understand, there is a thing called rotation where you can submit tapes if you're already a producer here. And whenever they have we need to fill this block of time or something, they'll yank one of those and play it.
And we're not really sure. We're just the talent. We don't do anything.
That's right. Talent being a relative term. So I don't know exactly the process that the TV station uses to choose what tapes to run when, but
Okay,
apparently there is one.
Another thing to talk to you guys about.
Yeah.
It's a legal thing, and I'm sure you guys aren't lawyers, but cardinal law. Now, to me, the guy, he endangered those children. He knew that what he was dealing with, and he put pedophiles in a position to molest children, and he moved them from one to another because he was embarrassed. And it just seems to me that there should be a legal recourse against the guy. I don't know if it would be
I would agree with
criminal
you. I
or
think that there
civil?
should be I think that ultimately what's going to come down is the only legal recourse is going to be civil suits that
Well, I don't understand.
people file against maybe cardinal law personally and against the church.
I don't understand why he hasn't been indicted yet.
Right, that's
I mean,
what
I think he
it
could
seems
be.
to me that there's some criminal
And
liability here.
And I have to say, in its one hand, as much as I criticize them, I'm very proud that I have heard some of even the conservative TV pundits, like Bill O'Reilly, who is an Irish Catholic, come out and call for this man's arrest. Okay. Because what he's done, right? That is, if he knew that, for example, there's this priest named Shanley, who was like Cardinal Law's special pal, right? Not special pal in that way, but he was like guy that they were buds, and knew that Shanley had this history of pedophilia. Shanley's own diaries apparently talk about his own, contracting of VD.
He was treated for VD in several cities.
Yeah.
In his diaries, he said that he taught children how to shoot up drugs properly so that they wouldn't get infected.
Yeah.
And he was one of the founding members of the precursor to NAMBLA.
Now, he's a founding member, or he just, I heard something that he spoke at a meeting of theirs, but was he actually a founding member?
I had heard that it was not actually, there was a precursor group to NAMBLA, and he was one of the influential members of that group.
while he
NAMBLA would be the National Man-Boy Love Association, right?
Pro-pedophilia, sleazebags.
And this was while he was a priest, apparently.
Oh, wonderful. Okay. And so and the thing is, if Cardinal Law knew all this was going on and was protecting Shanley, then legally that's conspiracy. And you can bust him on that. But what is really, really disturbing to me, again, is how some members of the Catholic Church are rallying around Cardinal Law, trying to go, no, he's our boy. And there was a rumor going around, Cardinal Law himself denies it, that the Vatican was planning on getting him out of the country before he has his deposition this summer. He's denied that. That would be really,
That would be telling right there.
Yeah, that would be like, organized crime.
Right.
So like the mafia does. When one of their guys whacks somebody, they get him out of the country until the heat dies down. So that would be, that's what that would be. But he denies it. But then there was a thing, I think, a couple days ago, Cardinal Law shows up at this Catholic either breakfast or fundraiser or stuff, gets this big standing ovation. And I'm like, what's it going to take for some people to just realize, hey, we have to take some morally responsible stand here, and if the Vatican, if the Church wants to be a moral authority on this issue, okay, and maintain its moral credibility, then the thing is, it's like, we have a pedophile priest in our midst, call the cops. Let's get him out of here right now, show the world that we have a less than zero policy about this, and, and come right out with it.
Well, I don't remember where I heard this, but I heard a news analyst, a woman talking about the Catholic Church, saying how, of course, when they had talked about this, they decided not to have a zero-tolerance policy on this, that basically what had come out was, from now on, if they see a pattern, but not a first time. And she said,
not a first time.
She said, this is quite interesting because in issues like divorce, if you get divorced, you can never, ever get remarried again in the Catholic Church. They have a zero-tolerance policy on divorce, but not on fondling small children.
Yeah, the pedophiles get a bit of a,
Yeah,
it's okay. So it's if you ruin one kid's life, scar him for life. You have to live.
You have to at least ruin two for us to
not even
think
two.
about it.
A pattern would be like 6 or 7, right? So let's mess up a whole bunch of kids psychologically for life, and set them up on a nice future of drug abuse and alcoholism and depression and suicide, and then we'll arrest you if you have a nice track record, right? So, and how do they know this? Do they issue these priests little rubber stamps with solicit kids on them that they put on the wall, and they go and it's like, okay,
on the side of their car.
15, and it's like, well, is there some sort of diocese raffle that you win, and you're the guy we prosecute this month. So, oh boy, the office boy. It's creepy.
So it's just highly.
Just to reiterate, when we lapse into joke mode here, sometimes I say this. We acknowledge this is not a joking matter. Okay, this is very much not a joking matter. Sometimes though, the only way you can deal with really horrible, grotesque, creepy, inexplicable stuff like this is to just talk about it in absurd terms. But yeah, it's inexcusable. A pattern.
Thanks, you. And I was just, I haven't heard anybody mention any kind of criminality as far as Cardinal Law, just about the priests that do it, but not the Cardinal. Yeah. That shuffle them around like chess pieces. Anyway, I'm going to let somebody get to you that has a theology to talk about.
Well, we'll see.
And that's always more fun.
We appreciate your call.
Yeah, very much so. Thank you very much, Tom. Talk to you soon. Yeah, I think conspiracy would be the charge.
There were some people saying that they were wanting the government to get involved and try to prosecute them on the RICO Act.
Yeah.
On the
racketeering.
Racketeering. That's right. Because
that would be how you would charge a conspiracy.
Yes, because there was a definite pattern of hiding this criminal activity.
Right.
And you can't say that's not about money, because the Catholic Church obviously knows that when these things are found out to be true, they're going to lose money. People are not going to give as much money, or
this is another thing that I'm deeply concerned about, is that the reason the Vatican is responding to this as much as they are does not seem to be out of any sense of genuine moral outrage at the crimes that have been committed against kids. They're responding to it because they're nervous and embarrassed. Okay, they're worried about their own authority. They're worried about the church's authority.
They don't want to lose the authority to tell people how to live. And so they're having to deal with this. Otherwise, it would have been continued to have been swept under the rug like it has been in the past.
Yeah, but they're not coming. I mean, the response from the Vatican and from the Church has been motivated by a desire to protect and restore the Church's viability as this moral arbiter over human culture, and not as the crimes are taking place and we're going to do all we can to bust these guys because they're criminals, and so that's how that goes. So who's next? Norman on 3. Let's see what he has to say. Norman?
Yes.
Hi, we appreciate you waiting. How you doing?
Hey, I'm fine, thanks. How are y'all?
All right.
Good. Hey, I was just calling to ask about the National Day of Prayer.
Yes.
Why is that something to protest or to show up at and voice some kind of a discontent with that?
Well, like we had talked about earlier in the show.
Yeah, I missed that. I just caught it.
Oh, okay, great. No problem. The National Day of Prayer was mandated by Congress in the 50s.
Okay.
So this is a government-sponsored event.
Tell me what you mean by a government-sponsored event. Are
Meaning,
there taxpayer dollars going to this or something like that?
Well,
I don't understand what you mean.
To be honest with you, I'm not sure if taxpayer dollars are going to it or not. I don't know how if the National Day of Prayer Task Force actually uses taxpayer money or private money, but the point behind it is more of a point of principle and an ethical point in terms of here we have the government telling you that you should pray.
Do you think that's really what they're doing?
Yes. Oh, definitely. If you don't think that, go check out the proclamations that the governors of different states have put out, the proclamation that the President of the United States put out, and no doubt that they're telling you that you should pray. Go look at Governor Perry's proclamation. They have it on the ndptexas.com website. There's no doubt that the government is getting involved in saying, we think prayer is good, and not only do we think it's good, we think you should pray. And we urge all Americans to come on and pray this day.
Well, David, I don't quite understand how that's any different than saying February is Black History Month, or this is Breast Cancer Awareness Week.
Well, neither of those things are matters of faith. Neither of those things are, religions.
What difference does that make?
What differences makes is that the Constitution and the First Amendment makes it very clear that the government can neither endorse nor restrict the worship practices of the citizens. And so that's where that comes in. But another problem with that we mentioned with the National Day of Prayer is that although it makes lip service towards being inclusive of other faiths, it is very clearly a Christian event.
Evangelical Christian
It is an evangelical Christian event.
So you're saying that across this nation there are no Muslims, there are no mosques, there are no temples that are involved in the National Day of Prayer?
No, there may be. I'm talking about if you go to the official National Day of Prayer Task Force website and the National Day of Prayer Texas website, everything on it is explicitly Christian. As a matter of fact, the actual chairperson for the National Day of Prayer, Shirley Dobson, who's the wife of evangelical Christian James Dobson, says on the website under facts, frequently asked questions, it said, who can attend? She says anybody of any faith can attend our events. However, you should be aware they're going to be evangelical and Christian in nature. So, and like I said before, I have no problem, I don't think any of us have a problem with a prayer movement spreading across America through individuals, through churches.
Sure.
I have no problem with any of that. The sole problem I have is with the government endorsement of this. Government is supposed to be neutral in terms of religion. They shouldn't endorse religion or endorse non-religion over religion. In other words, if government came out and said, hey, we want everybody on May 2nd to come together and embrace atheism, I would say that's completely wrong. Completely wrong. It's not the government's job. They need to be neutral in this, and they are doing that with religion and prayer in this instance.
Let me ask you this then. What is the point of, just to use the first one I can think of is the February Black History Month. What is the point of even the government recognizing Black History Month to begin with at all?
Well, that gets into whole other issues, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
Because I don't see much of a difference there, because they're recognizing something that is important to a certain percentage of the people that are in this country.
Yeah, but
and I don't see that, whether it be prayer or Breast Cancer Awareness Week.
I'll tell you what the difference is.
Okay,
the difference is that the Constitution has specifically pointed out religious faith as being an issue that the government cannot take a stance on, either pro or con.
We're agreeing. You and I are just barely missing each other on the main point.
Yeah. But that's it. That's what I'm saying, that the reason why that there can be government recognition of things like Black History Month, which has to do with, the contributions that are, the African Americans have made to the reason you have Breast Cancer Awareness Month, that's like a health and medical issue. So the reason, the difference between those things is that those are...
There's no prohibition against that.
Well, in the Constitution, there's nothing that says the government shall make no law, endorsing the advocacy of specific medical practices or restricting there's nothing in there. It is specifically focused in the text of the Constitution on freedom of speech and of religion. So religion is a thing that is underscored. If there were a passage in the Constitution saying we can't have holidays recognizing a particular race or a particular disease of the month or a particular event that has to do with our gardening or what have you, then if they came out and said, oh, we're going to have a National Day of Gardening, you'd have to say, oh wait, hang on, that's unconstitutional. It says right here, no endorsement of gardening.
But the issue then, Martin, is the fact that this is a National Day of Prayer. It is not a national day to recognize Christianity or any other religion. What we're talking about is something that's very kind of obscure, which is just prayer. Now, if what you're going to attack is this underscoring Christian evangelical movement within this National Day of Prayer, then that's the thing to attack. But to say that prayer is the same thing as religion, to correlate those two, that's false.
Well, I mean, don't religious people pray? I mean, isn't prayer part of religious practice?
Oh, it's a practice, but see, what the framers of the Constitution were unquestionably going after was a national religion, something that where folks like y'all, for instance, if y'all did not want to partake in a particular religion or be a part of it, that you were not faced with some kind of undue stress by people who were forcing you to do it. And one of the issues that I have is for y'all to say that anybody is forcing anybody to do anything. This is merely a day to recognize prayer, just in the same respect that they recognize Black History Month.
That is not true.
No one is forcing anyone to pray. No one is forcing anyone to show up.
It doesn't have to be forced. It's the Constitution and the multiple precedents set down by courts' interpretations of the Constitution have not said anything about force. I mean, they have said things about it. They said nobody can be forced to participate in a religious activity or whatever, but they've also said that the government needs to remain neutral, not just not force people, but be neutral and not advocate religion over non-religion in any manner. Now, and I think that you need to go check out the proclamations that the president has come down with and the governors of the states have come down with, because they are much more than saying we are recognizing that people pray, and so this day, if people want to pray, they can pray. It's saying we understand America's reliance on God. We understand that prayers help people in all these different trying times, and we encourage you to come and pray on this day. The government is putting essentially a call to action forward.
Yeah, it's a stamp of approval.
And that's the difference.
Okay.
So that's the only thing. Like I say, if individual people, have the right to practice their faith as they see fit, and it is not the government's business. It's all about less government, right? Keep the government out of your private life. That's really what a house has to do with. So we appreciate your call, and we'll talk to you later on.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Which I find odd because and many. The politicians that you find most likely to endorse a government-sponsored religion tend to be Republicans who are generally railing on about how government intrudes in people's lives and how they want less government.
Yeah,
I find that interesting.
That has been a thing that I've noticed about whether they're Republican or Democrat. On the side of the right wing, the very far right wing, there does seem to be this dichotomy between campaigning for less and less government, and then the instant you're in office, let's try to pass all these laws specifically designed to infringe on civil liberties. So it does strike me as being, but that's another
separate issue.
Yeah, that's a whole other conversation that is not really germane to what our show's about. So anyway, okay, who is next on our list here? I believe it's Norman.
Oh, we got the callers racking up. All right.
Oh, Bianca on 1 has been waiting for a long time, so we'll put her on. Oh, Bianca?
Yeah.
Hi, thanks for waiting.
Hey, sure.
Sure.
How are you guys doing?
We're good.
Cool. I just have a question, just kind of general question. I've never watched your show before, and I just tuned in today. I found it rather interesting, and I just wanted to know what made you guys decide that you wanted to, be atheists and just kind of completely give up on God and stuff.
Okay. Let's give our testimonies, shall we?
Sure. Well, being an atheist isn't really a thing that you decide to be. If you're a person who doesn't believe in God, or a God, or gods, goddesses, plural, deities, then an atheist is just what you are. It just says, I was raised in a Baptist church, and after many years of thinking about this stuff and just deciding that it simply made no sense, and the questions that I had weren't being answered, and there was a long process of just deciding that I didn't believe these teachings that I was hearing. And it was a very long time. It was many years before I decided that, the A word applied to me. But once I did, I just, it was really not that big a deal. It was just, I grew up in a religious climate and decided I didn't believe what I was being taught. And again, but remember, the word atheist simply refers to not believing in a God, and that can pertain to any, concept of God that you might want to put out. I often surprise a lot of people when I tell them, that to a certain degree, everyone is an atheist, in the sense that there have been thousands of religions in the history of the world. There are a couple of thousand religions active in the world today, each one of which has either its own concept of God, its own definition of God, or some of them have many, many gods. If you don't believe in any of those religions' gods, if you don't believe in Zeus, if you don't believe in Thor, if you don't believe in, Shiva, if you don't believe in, any of these other gods of many faiths in the world, then in regards to that faith and in regards to the God of that religion, you're an atheist. I point out to a lot of Christians that the only difference between me and them is that I believe in one fewer God than Christians do. Christians are atheists in regards to every single God other than the one they've chosen to worship, which is the Christian God. And so it's really only a difference of degree. But my whole thing just came from deciding that I wasn't getting any evidence of the teachings that I was being given, and none of my questions were being answered. It just didn't make any sense to me, so I decided I just don't believe it. How about you?
Okay.
Well, I was raised in a small North Texas town that the church was kind of the social center of the society, and I was what would be considered a right-wing fundamentalist Christian. And I was very active in the church as a teenager, giving sermons, performing baptisms, leading many people to God. Mm-hmm. And when I got out of high school, I went to a Christian college and majored in theology with the intent of becoming a minister. And it was there when I really started studying the Bible more in depth that I became an atheist. And it all started for me when I looked at the Bible with kind of an objective eye and saw many of the what I viewed horrible things that God either did outright or condoned that His followers did that I felt were highly immoral. And I sat back and realized that I could not follow a being whose morals were less than mine, who was more immoral than I could. There are things in the Bible that God did that I could never do or condone. And that really kind of started me on the path to saying, I cannot follow this God, now what? And it ultimately led to my atheism.
I see. Well, what is it? Can you give me some example as to what is it that you found that God did that you could not follow?
Well, there's
for a while.
There are whole books in the Bible filled with Joshua. The book of Joshua is filled with warfare.
Yeah. They go on this tour of how many cities, like 30 or 32 or something
that they can
this.
destroy. And God gives commands in Numbers. In different books in the Bible, God gives commands such as, I want you to go in, and I want you to take your army. These were His followers. I want you to go in, and I want you to go to this city or to this tribe. I want you to kill every man, woman, and child, kill the animals, kill every living thing, but I want you to keep the young virgins for yourselves. And I found that to be disgusting. I found the concept of I want you to kill every living thing, it's genocide. It was just plain genocide between warring tribes. And it was not only condoned but ordered by God. And that's just one example. But there are many things like that throughout the Bible that I just could not condone, personally.
And for me, a big sticking point is what's called the problem of evil, which essentially states that Christianity presupposes a deity which is omniscient, which means he knows everything, past, present, and future, with total clarity. He's omnipotent. He can do anything. There are no limits whatsoever to his power. And he is omnibenevolent, which means that he is all-loving. He is a being of perfect love and goodness. And yet we have this world in which evil, bad stuff happens. And how can this be? For one thing, you can't claim that God doesn't know there's evil stuff because he is omniscient. You can't claim that he's incapable of doing anything to prevent the evil because he's omnipotent. And you can't claim that he doesn't care whether or not evil events are occurring because he's omnibenevolent. So, that sort of God, given a world in which bad stuff happens to people, can't be reconciled. Now, the Christian defense of this position is, God gives everyone free will to act as they choose, and he doesn't impose his will upon people. And my response to that would be, free will not only isn't logical within the context of an omniscient, omnipotent deity, because if God knows all, there's no way that you can do anything, make a choice of your own free will that would do something that would go against the will or the knowledge of God. In other words, you can't do something that God doesn't expect. So right there, that calls into question the very existence of free will. But in that also, a problem would be that even if free will were a thing that God provided us with, and even if he were not all-knowing and all-powerful and all-seeing, the fact remains that if God is a moral authority, then he has a moral responsibility to prevent evil when he sees it. If he is the moral authority over human behavior in the world. So free will does not absolve God from the moral responsibility he has to prevent an act of evil from occurring if it's possible for him to do so.
Well, see, me being a Christian and everything, let me retort and just say that what is believed by many Christians is that God gave us free will, right? Mm-hmm. And that bad stuff happens because in the Bible it clearly says that in order for him to protect you and to keep you from all these things from happening and all that, then you just do what he says, right? And you just...
So then if you do what he says, if you have to do what he says in order to not be victimized or afflicted with evil at all, what is the point of giving free will in the first place?
Well, so that he can... Let me see.
You see? I mean, there are all these dilemmas that occur when you begin to try to reconcile this whole idea of a God who is capable of anything and knows everything, and yet he allows us to sort of make our own decisions and flounder about, knowing that a lot of people are going to make bad choices.
Well, there's an issue of responsibility there, too.
Right.
If I knowingly, let's say that I married to someone and we give birth to a child that we know is going to grow up to murder people, let's just say, and we know that is going to happen, and we don't do anything to stop that, then I have to be held responsible because I knew ahead of time.
Well, it's not
that happened.
That's even an extreme example.
But I mean, the earth is filled with all kinds of evil things, and God ultimately is responsible for that.
Yeah, and they're not merely human acts of evil either that we have to contend with. I mean, somebody going out and doing murder, that's a human act of evil, and you can put that down to a matter of choice on someone's part. But then, how do you explain things like earthquakes and tidal waves and natural disasters that claim the lives of tens of thousands of people that really nobody has any control over? Those are acts of nature that suddenly pop out of nowhere, and all at once you have entire towns being flooded out and people dying. So even if you're able to explain away human acts of evil, we now have to deal with natural evils that are, plaguing folks, and why a God would allow, folks to be, killed by earthquakes and hurricanes and tidal waves and forest fires. So.
Okay. Well, all right. Well, thanks for your time, you guys.
Yeah. All right.
Call back anytime. Thank you very much.
Okay. Hope we explained it to you well. All right. Take care.
You too.
Bye. All right. Well, it's always nice to. Okay. Who's lining up here? We have Andrew on too. Maybe Andrew has an opinion on problem of evil. Andrew.
Yes. Hello.
Hi. Thank you for waiting.
Yes. Thank you for taking my call. I just have some scattered thoughts. scattered points about the Catholic Church and the child molestation thing. It's a lot of it has to do with the public mind concerning this issue, and for one thing, I might be missing some details about the case, but it seems to me the public, probably a large number of people, are more concerned about exposing the church than they really are about this victimized child. I'm not saying it's not a terrible thing and that there aren't people's hearts that go towards that actual situation, but people are just jump at the chance to point the finger at the Catholic Church and its moral authority when they can. I saw the Cardinals meeting on CNN, and I saw the press conference, and I'm wondering, what does the press want here? What do they want these Cardinals to say? Okay, well, we've changed all of our laws and all of our doctrines concerning child molestation. I mean, their teachings are kind of readily apparent from the Bible. They're readily apparent from what they preach as a church. So there's this pervert up north in Boston. Nothing against Northerners, but there's this guy up north, in one location in the States, and there's more than one probably, but.
Yeah, well, I think it's been ascertained. There's a lot.
What more do they want the church to do? What are they expecting from the church?
Well, I think that they were just looking for a sense of responsibility.
Yeah, I don't think they want them to just change their policies concerning what happens from now on. I think they want them to take responsibility for what has happened in the past.
How are
these people committed criminal acts?
Yeah,
and the church has started out by. Well, it started out by not wanting to give up any names. We don't want anybody to know who's doing it. They wanted to protect them and shield them.
Now, now here's the matter of details then.
But
okay, I don't know who's shielding who here. I know there's one guy that might have some information.
Well, here's the thing.
He might be holding back. But see, there's the public mind in regard to the media.
I'm sorry, I don't.
Because that's a whole other thing. But look, I'm saying the way the public interprets the way the media has represented this. I mean, what do we know about this Cardinal Law as far as what kind of bureaucracy he has to go through in his position to contact the police?
Well,
what do the
let me answer you. I'll go ahead.
Okay. How lazy have the police been about it? Because
right. Well, again, now hang on. I'll go ahead and I'll answer you because here's the problem that is at hand, right? In that this. Okay, well, I'll get to Cardinal Law and specifically what people say he knows or should have known and what his responsibility should have been in the first place.
I'm not trying to turn this into a newscast. I'm just telling
but here's the issue. Here's the issue that's at hand, right? Is that the church, whether it's the Catholic Church or some Protestant, in this case we're talking about the Catholic Church, and there are something like 60-odd million American Catholics. Okay, now the church represents itself publicly as being the moral authority to its followers. The church says we are the organization in human society, in culture, that we are the moral compass. We provide you with the guidelines of correct and ethical, moral, good behavior by which all good folks ought to live. And so, by presenting themselves in such a way, they need to behave kind of consistently within that framework, in such a way that supports this claim that they are a moral authority. And when you have suddenly priests and people in the clergy committing these ghastly crimes, okay, for the church not to immediately do something about it, to immediately say, one of our guys has been accused of this situation, and upon investigating the situation, we found out these accusations were true, and we booted that guy, we defrocked him, we excommunicated him, and we turned him over to the cops and the district attorney's office. But the church hasn't been doing that. Would be the way in which the church could reinforce its moral authority by saying, we police ourselves, and this this gives us the authority to say what it is correct or incorrect for people to do in their behavior. See, look, we're not willing to tolerate this amongst our own membership, amongst our own clergy, because you can't consistently talk out of both sides. Right. So here's what's known about Cardinal Law, right, is that he was aware of Shanley's, this priest Shanley, his affiliations, his problems in the past, and his history of abuse. And in order to keep it quiet, to protect any sort of embarrassing publicity that the church might get, he sort of swept it under the rug and moved Shanley from one diocese to another. Get him out of the one where there's all this stink arising, there we are, from his actions, and let's get him off somewhere else where he can and we'll keep it all quiet. And that, right, you can't do that sort of thing. You cannot behave in a manner that is inconsistent with your claim that you are this moral authority as an institution.
Okay, I agree. I agree with you on the point that there should be a stricter, more organized.
Well, that's the problem that people
doing away
have.
With this. What I don't agree with is that the whole institution is condemned by a large number of people. And secondly, on that point, that these are the same people that are getting cable TV pumped into their homes, that are allowing more stripper bars to be built, and so on and so forth.
Okay,
and no, that's not child porn. That's not child stuff. That's adult material. But I mean
But they're probably also not peering in your bedroom telling you how you should have sex.
What's another thing? Okay, private citizens aren't out there, claiming to be the moral authority over other private citizens. It's members of the clergy who are claiming that. Private citizens don't have an expectations of living a celibate life or a requirement to do so.
But there's a large number of private citizens that are pointing the finger at the Catholic institution.
Well, and as well they should. I mean, I don't think, it's a person's, individual rights include the right to be critical of institutions. When you see those what should you? You have people, anybody has the right. If you're in the public eye.
It might lack some substance at some point, though, but go on.
Well, no, I don't. Well, look, you have to be careful when these accusations are coming to light, right? Whether or not, sure, there can be a bandwagon effect where you could have several very real child molestation accusations followed by a bunch of phony ones, okay, by people trying to cash in and do stuff. Sure. So all of these, the individual cases and the individual accusations need to be legally looked at on a case-by-case basis. You're right in that, no entire group of people should be condemned for the actions of a few bad apples. But the problem
They're worse than bad apples, but yeah.
Yeah, but right.
But what you're trying to do is tacitly make apologies for what they're doing. You're trying to take. No, wait a second. You're saying, well, the people that are pointing the finger are out there trying to put strip clubs in society. That has nothing to do with whether or not these charges against the Catholic Church are true. Has nothing to do with it. Nothing to do with whether these people, whether they're pointing a finger or whether they live the most immoral lives. It doesn't matter.
It doesn't
the charges, they're either true or false.
But when someone goes, I can't believe it, then it has a little bit to do with the credibility that someone, the
like when the church says, I can't believe that you got divorced. I can't believe that you want to have sex and use a condom. By the way, let me go to be a pedophile.
I can't believe there's a pervert in an institution that claims to be a moral authority.
Right, but that's the whole.
And it's horrible. And it's horrible. And I'm not saying that it's horrible. It's even more horrible because it's a kid. Yeah. But I'm also saying there's a lot of people that are jumping, and it goes right back to my first point, and I'm going to hang up and let y'all say whatever, but they're ready to jump up and point the finger at the church, and, their heart is 30% with that kid, but 70% at getting to point the finger when, it's time to get to point the finger.
May be true.
Yay.
That may be true that there are some people who are more interested in having fun bashing the church about this than they are about. Okay.
Thank you.
I don't. That's not our position. I mean, now, hang on. We'll go ahead and let you go. Although, I mean, we are critical of religions as institutions, generally speaking, right? Because we're atheists. I mean, my whole answer to this would, in fact, I think I answered a poll recently where the poll, I was asked a question pertaining to, do you think that the Roman Catholic Church should, end its practices of
celibacy,
of celibacy and of requiring celibacy of priests, and my sarcastic answer was, well, I think the Catholic Church should end its practices. Right. That would be, but then that guy said, but I'll pretend to be unbiased there. But here's the whole thing, though. Yes, it's probably true that there are a lot of people who are, politicizing this, for we can get the church now. But I really don't see that much of that, because what I do see, though, is that it's the job of the media, and in this case, this is ironic because I think the media is actually getting it right, because all too often the media is willing to let certain things slide. And maintain a kind of status quo. But I've always thought that journalism was supposed to be about hard-hitting investigation and, bringing out all that ugly stuff that's been swept under the rug by various people into the open. I mean, we expect them to do that of our politicians, right? I mean, everybody loved it when, Bill Clinton dipping his wick in the White House, and that got blown out of proportion, and everybody was ready to burn him at the stake for that. Right. And spend millions of dollars of taxpayer money trying to do so. But when it's the Catholic, but when it's a religious institution, people are like, oh, this is the media being unfair and ganging up on the church and da-da-da-da-da-da. So, it's, again, we need to be careful of those double standards. We got 4 minutes left, and we're going to try to take one more call in this time. So I'm going to go to Tracy on line 1 and see what Tracy has to say. Tracy?
Yeah, hey,
hi, how are you?
You guys are on short time. I had 3 quick points. I'll try to hammer them out in less than a minute here.
Oh, all righty.
The caller that called a few calls back who was talking about the National Day of Prayer, I took anthropology when I was in college, and we defined religion in that course as anything that puts your religious faith or your, your belief in God into practice. So prayer is very much religion. Doesn't really matter if you're defining it as Christian or Muslim or anything. Once you endorse prayer, you're endorsing religion. Yeah,
it's a hair-splitting argument.
And the next thing was about
non-religious people don't pray.
Yeah, some people don't, and some religious people probably don't. Yeah. But once they put it into practice, it is a religion.
Sure.
The priests and the molestation, I've noticed in the news, the thing that surprises me most is the number of people that are talking about this occurring who are not reporting it to police. I find it really weird how they seem to be going to the other priests and to bishops and then to the cardinal, but it doesn't seem like when they're sending out the letters and making the calls that they're including Child Protective Services. I mean, this is a crime. Yeah. If the manager at 7-Eleven broke into my house and robbed me, I wouldn't just report it to the regional managers at 7-Eleven. I would report that to the police as well. Yeah. So I think that's a little bit weird. That was kind of my second point.
Yeah. I find that amongst a lot of, not just sort of the Catholic Church here in this case, but there have been other situations where in various Protestant or sort of out there sects of Christianity, such as the Jehovah's Witnesses, where if problems arise within the fold, Mormons are like this. The expectation is that you need to bring it, that before you bring in the law, you need to deal with it with church authorities first. We need to sort of deal with this internally, before we call the cops on stuff.
Right.
It's no. Look, right. Your membership in this particular version of the Jesus Fan Club doesn't absolve you of your legal duties under the laws of the Constitution that govern this country.
Absolutely.
And that's the disturbing thing, is that there is this kind of feeling that, well, we answer to a higher authority. No. Okay, look, your private belief system is your business, but in this country, we all answer to the laws of the land as dictated by our Congress working under the Constitution.
Right.
And no member of any faith, or if you're a member of a big faith or a little faith or a fringe faith or no faith, we all answer ultimately to the same laws.
Okay. I had one other thing I wanted to just bring up real quick, and then I'll let you go. I know you guys have just a couple minutes left.
Sure.
The young woman who said that in her, interpretation of the Bible, if you lead a God-fearing, decent, good, God-ruled life, that bad things don't happen to you. She needs to read the book of Job.
Yeah, I mean, that's...
and that's great, because that was where God, who's supposed to be all-powerful, got taken in by Satan going, I can make him do this. And God said, no, you can't. God got taken in and he got suckered.
Yeah, I mean, he literally put up with one of his best people as a gambling debt. I'll wager Job's life.
That's right.
Yeah, so that would be another list of the horrible Old Testament things that we just can't imagine.
And I also want to just add real quickly, I'm not an atheist, but I did want to say I really appreciate your dialogue. I think it's a really great show.
Well, thanks very much.
And I think that, I'm really impressed by the caliber of calls that you've gotten. It's the first time I've seen the show, and I would have expected that you would have gotten a lot more, anger and...
We have some of those. The show is very unpredictable week to week. But anyway, thank you so much, Tracy.
Good calls like yours.
Yeah,
Thanks.
we got to let you go.
Okay.
And sorry to our other callers whom we didn't get a chance to take your calls today, but please call us back. We are on every Sunday, 4:30, Channel 10, without fail. Here goes our love out to Austin. We love you, Austin. Remember to watch us next weekend, and go to atheist-community.org for more info about us. And unbelievers, remember our bagel shop meetings, Sunday mornings, 10:30. Christians, we don't hate you. We just think you're wrong. Bye-bye.